Hey, welcome to Bingebar. Today we'll be talking about my two favorite things, hockey and conspiracies. To some this may be old news that they are so sick of hearing. But what if it was true? What if this could be proven? On this episode of Conspiracies, we'll be talking about the Wideman Effect. It was January of 2016. The Calgary Flames were facing off against the Nashville Predators when Pred Mika Salamaki laid a hit on Flames defenseman Dennis Wideman. Wideman appeared slow to his feet and was visibly shaken up. Wideman expected a penalty from the hit, no doubt in anybody's mind including his own. Both the ref and the linesman witnessed the hit. Both felt they had nothing to call. But Salamaki skated on, staying with the play, while Wideman slowly picked himself up onto his skates. It initially looked that he was making his way to his team's bench. In his path was 48-year-old linesman Don Henderson. Henderson now had his back to the invigorated Dennis Wideman. As the viewers paid attention to the puck, Wideman struck. As linesman Don Henderson lay on the ground from the force of Wideman's cross-check, Wideman pressed on and entered his team's bench, where he sat casually with his teammates. A ref, who witnessed the incident from further down the ice, blew his whistle to kill the play. Henderson, with the help of fellow refs, was able to climb to his feet and impressively finish that game. Granted, it was only the third period. The league took notice to this, as well as the hockey world. Wideman's case was originally ruled a Category 1, under NHL Rule 40.2, which outlaws striking an official with intent to injure. It was a 20-game suspension. Wideman sat out 19 games, but eventually an independent arbitrator ruled that Wideman's offense had involved no ill intent and downgraded it to a Category 2. The penalty for this is a 10-game automatic suspension, so Wideman got back half his missing pay. In the post-interview, Wideman stated, "I took a pretty hard hit down in the corner and had some pretty good pain in my shoulder and my neck, and I was just trying to get off the ice when I was kind of keeled over, and at the last second, I looked up and I saw him and I couldn't avoid it." The Dennis Wideman affair is further proof that every interaction between the National Hockey League and its Players Association eventually boils down to a territorial clash of egos. This was money the league was losing. More importantly, this is money that NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman is losing. The league was forced to refund Wideman half of the $564,000 due to the change in his original suspension. Timely, Bettman, in his lengthy appeal ruling, had cited a text message Wideman sent to a teammate, or so he claimed, as a smoking gun to demonstrate Wideman's disrespect for officials and a lack of remorse. Turns out, the recipient wasn't a teammate, but rather Gregory Campbell, son of Colin, the NHL VP, whose office issued the original suspension. Yeah, why was nobody talking about this when it happened? Bettman was about to face a harsh reality. A $10.25 million lawsuit against Calgary Flames defenseman Dennis Wideman was tossed out of the court of Queen's Bench on Friday and will now be sitting on the plate of the commissioner of the NHL. The lawsuit was filed by, you guessed it, linesman Don Henderson, who at this point has still yet to return to the game. Henderson said he suffered a wide range of injuries, including permanent and partial disability and serious head injuries after being checked into the boards. But what about Wideman's concussion? That's when things got tricky. The NHLPA declared Wideman had a concussion and couldn't be held responsible for his hit and suspension. All of this boiled down to another issue that was bleeding the league. Many former players were coming back at the NHL with lawsuits regarding head injuries and their long-term health impacts. Depending on your age, you may have not known that for many years, players played without helmets, and well, now they have issues to say the least. The league already suffered some embarrassment as a result of emails related to the concussion suit becoming unsealed. But we should backtrack first. You heard it right. It was a $10.25 million case. Breaking that down into these terms: $200,000 in general damages, $50,000 in special damages being housekeeping, yard work expenses, and hospital expenses, and $10 million in loss of income, loss of future income, loss of earning capacity, and loss of opportunity. Fun fact: NHL linesmen make, on the high end, about $235,000 per year. Given Henderson's age and his placement on the NHL's pay scale, $10 million is a very big ask. But it's also likely part of a legal strategy when you start with a big ask, when you file the suit, and things eventually get walked back to some matter of a midpoint when a settlement happens. I think it was safe to say, regardless of the outcome, Dennis Wideman's jersey would never be raised to the rafters in Calgary. So this is the theory, this is the conspiracy, and this is why you clicked on the video. Calgary fans at the time believed the league was now against them, mainly the refs and the linesmen. Of course they do. Every team feels like that. Your team could win the Stanley Cup and sweep each of the series that they participate in, and you'll still feel that the officiating was out to get you. That isn't the case here, however. There is evidence to support their claims. If you didn't know about the Wideman incident, the data would probably have you asking what the hell happened around the start of February 2016. All of a sudden, there was a noticeable and strange jump in Calgary's penalties. The refs developed a real bad attitude towards the Flames. It was evident. In the first 47 games that season, prior to Wideman's cross-check on Henderson, the Flames averaged 2.62 minors per game. In the 34 games after the incident, they averaged 3.88. That's a 48% jump in season for the same Flames team with roughly the same roster. The following season started, and the team was the most penalized through the first 10 to 20 games. But at the same time, they were also being rewarded a ton of power plays. They were averaging only 80 seconds more on the penalty kill than the power play. So what would cancel that out? It doesn't take away the fact that the team went from being the least penalized team to the most. There was a coaching change, but even a change in that wouldn't result in a change that drastic. The NHL and the Flames met to discuss the way Calgary games are officiated. They went through a ton of video and even talked about calls not made, including some specifically against Wideman. For what it's worth, of course a penalty is a penalty. It's what you don't call that matters. If you look at specific evidence, the theory is true. The one graph you need to pay attention to, put together by statsbylopez.com, it's a comparison of all teams, both pre and post Wideman hit. Prior to the Wideman hit, Calgary was consistently called for about one fewer penalty per game than opponents. However, while the rate of penalties drawn by Calgary has remained fairly consistent, after Wideman's hit, there's an immediate bump in penalties taken by Calgary. Comparing games pre and post hit, the Flames jumped from a 2.1 to a 3.3 non-matching minors per game. Wideman was suspended 20 games, and the spike in penalty calls has remained much longer. Surprisingly, Dennis Wideman wasn't more of a victim of the officiating after the incident as much as his teammates were. If all the calls were directed on him, it would be very obvious the league was out for them. Let's move up a couple seasons. The temperature of calls in Calgary and against Calgary seemed to level out again. They even went on to be the best team in their division and make a playoff run. The Wideman Effect is just a thing of the past, and that was often joked about as it's some crazy story in Flames Nation today. But what if it still actually existed? Here's a claim many praise due to this. The NHL is a see something, say nothing league. I cannot stress that enough. It has had its share of strange occurrences and dark moments that the players don't speak out about. The NFL, NBA, and MLB all have their share of stories made public by players. Players go public with whatever is going on. If it's rape, gambling, assault, cheating, you name it. Those players speak up. It's a big story in the media, but the league continues on. The NHL has none of that. Nothing that can even compare to what the other leagues go through. The NHL is a growing sport. It is not nearly as popular in the States as it is elsewhere. Some can argue it's not even part of the top 4 in the States. The league can't afford any bad publicity. The league can't handle a blow like that, unless they can control it, unless they can orchestrate it. Here's the theory that supports this. Hockey is a tough sport, and it's a very old one as well. Things get said, things happen, always have, and always will. But we will never hear about them. The players instead are making TikToks and videos online. Last season, the ball dropped. Former NHL player and former Calgary Flame, Akim Aliu, came out of hiding and made some alarming statements. His claims were he was subjected to racism in various forms from now former Calgary head coach, Bill Peters. He stated he knew if he ever went public with his story, he knew his career would be over. Bill Peters resigned soon enough and is now coaching in the KHL. But here's the part that's so strange. It's 2019. The Flames are finally relevant. They are proving people wrong. They are finishing first in their division. They are making the playoffs. Things are finally turning around in the Red Nation. Then this. Aliu's NHL career has been over for so long now. Why does he make a statement now? The league has the opportunity now to show they care about players' mental and physical health and safety unlike other leagues. They go on a tirade of firing coaches from racist and abusive comments that have made and put players through across the league over the course of however long. Dallas, Toronto, another coach, one after another. The NHL is showing, we aren't like the other leagues. Look at us punishing these individuals for the benefit of our players. The NHL always knew about these things. They have always existed. This is not new news to anybody. But now they can use it to look progressive. They can use it to show a higher praise. In recent times, the world is upside down due to racism outside of the league. Protests, looting, murder, and riots have consumed the world in the rise of the Black Lives Matter as they fight for justice. This has taken actors, actresses, and athletes to come forward and make a statement and, more importantly, a change. We have a video on racism in hockey as well, if you'd like to check that out for more information on the subject. But now I'll take your attention back to Calgary and how this all ties in. It just seems too fitting that this has always existed, and they've always known about this, but this was the first team the NHL focused on and took action on. Is this retaliation for the money the league lost due to them? This works in the favor of the league for two reasons. One being that, and two being how good and PC it really makes the league look. It's a win-win. Why do you think the league has never went public about its insane cocaine usage? Yeah, that's right. That's a thing. There are multiple sources, videos, images, audio clips, lawsuits, and criminal records that involve the NHL and some all-star players you all know and love. And not just Kuznetsov of the Washington Capitals. And if you'd like, we have a video on the cocaine conspiracy in the NHL as well, which is really more than a fact than a theory at this point. The Flames season had them at one point facing a possible rebuild. Now, due to the coronavirus, they were gifted a playoff spot. But what's to come for the Flames is still a mystery. But this was just food for thought. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more just like this one, please like and subscribe. Thank you.